Jeff?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jay. Can you fill me in on what we're seeing or not seeing?
I'm not quite sure I can tell you.
Subscribers, others, you have been watching this 11-year-old kid whose name I didn't know for many years, and you have been asking by the tens of thousands, what happened to this kid? What happened to his dad? Well, it took me a very long time to find Jay Ehrlich and his dad, Jeff Ehrlich, and then to get them to agree to share a little bit of what happened in the 41 years, because we're in the pandemic now, which is why we're doing Zoom. So, Jay, to start with, you didn't become a computer genius geek. How come?
Around 17 or 18, I actually burned out. I was doing so much all the time. I mean, literally through my teenage years, you know, I started to have fun and branch outside of the computer world and had friends and partying and all that stuff. But I actually overdid it and I burned out. So by senior year of high school, the computer was getting turned on less and less. And by college, it stayed at home and I really moved away from the computer altogether.
You know, where he is now, I can't imagine where he'll be 5 years from now or where someone his age will be 5 years from now.
In this moment in time, my viewers are saying, who is this dad? He's wonderful to his kid. He just allows his kid to be himself. And even though he doesn't know anything about the computer, if you could share just a bit of your philosophy, what led you to be that kind of dad that so many people would like to have a dad like you?
My wonderful wife, Jay's mother, allowing Jay to really explore computers and she shared his excitement when he would come to new discoveries. You caught me at a moment in time when I probably looked a lot more benign than I actually was.
I'm now old enough where some of the films I've done in my history, grandchildren are seeing it. And I'm proud of that. That's history. That's legacy. Have your kids, Jay, seen this?
The first several reactions that I still suffer the reverberation. My kids assail me about that video. The bowl haircut, which was probably done at home by my mom. The shorts are classic 70s wear, that shirt. In fact, my dad and I talked about, could we hit like Goodwill and try to find the clothes that we were wearing for this interview? So I took a lot of crap from my girls about the way I looked. I don't think, you know, it's interesting because they live in this, you know, my daughter, it works at, the older one is at a Google subsidiary, but she was a programmer and loved programming, and she graduated in finance, marketing, and engineering. And for them, it's like, what's the big deal? So you were 11 and you knew how to use a computer. They grew up with that stuff. So it's very unimpressive to them. I think they just think that I'm a big dork. The people who actually enjoy the video more than my kids are my friends from back in the day. Like, oh my God, we remember that geek. You know, that was so you. And you know, what would people think if they saw you now? Because, you know, you're not that guy, that kid anymore. So it's been really, when people started reaching out to me, David, and found me, like you unleashed the Kraken, because I started on Facebook, I would start getting these people from all over the globe that were literally, I mean, Africa and Asia. And I don't think I got Antarctica, but I got every other continent, where people were like, hey, did you go to Washington High School? Were you this guy? And then I start, you know, it was just fascinating. Like, there were emails. I started getting phone calls. So people were like calling my kids on their cell phones and going, hey, is your dad, was he this guy in Iowa? And my kids were freaked out. Like, they were like, first of all, what's the big deal? And second of all, God, it's scary that people can use the technology now to track you down.
I would say that he's exceptional on the standpoint of, you know, of the kids in the school system, there are maybe 20 that are capable of doing this out of several thousand.
There's only like, I think, 5 of us that I know that really know how to use it the right way. Other kids know how to use them, but they just play Star Trek and football and golf and stuff like that.
I think when my dad and I did that interview way back when, I don't know why my mom wasn't there, because she really, I know she was jealous that she wasn't a part of that process. When I divulged to her before she passed away about a year ago unexpectedly that there was this massive group of people trying to track down what happened, her first comment was, "Why do they think your dad's such a great guy?" You know, this wonderful guy, and he was kind of in the background. It was me, your mother, who was, you know, pushing you forward on the computer, and it was I who pushed you into going to these college courses when you were in 5th grade to learn about computer science. So it was kind of funny after, you know, this whole thing started and people trying to track us down. My mom was like, "It's great, but where am I in this story?"
We are honoring your mother because once I make this video and once it goes up on YouTube, it's there forever. 100 years from now, we're going to see this woman who's gone, and we're going to see you two guys and me, and we'll be gone. But she'll get a moment in time, and she deserves it, obviously. But Jeff, did you ever learn the computer? At the time, you didn't know anything. Now here you are on Zoom. I mean, you're still what we call computer ignorant.
As we speak today, I am speaking to you on one of her hand-me-down Mac PowerBooks, because she would always get the new technology as Jay would, and I would get third generation something.
Frequently, the future is looked at as being going to be a very mechanical, machine-like thing with the robots and people who are like robots. Do you have any fears about the future and your son in that regard?
No, none whatsoever.
Describe that.
I don't think. I think that the human being, the human species will always control machines. I can never see machines taking over. As long as there's someone that has to sit and push the buttons and input the information, and someone who has emotions and feelings, machines will never take over.
I'll answer that question a little differently this time. I once said to my wife, years ago when Jay was in medical school, and she asked me whether I thought HMOs would ever become anything in medicine, and I said, absolutely not. Private practice is the only way doctors are going to survive, and nobody is going to do anything with HMOs or PPOs. So to answer your question, I was as wrong 41 years ago as I was recently.
Overall, when you read the comments as I do every day, it's very complimentary. And to me, it's wonderful legacy for your family. I wasn't doing it for that purpose, but I'm really glad that your children's children's children will see this thing. And what will they think? They'll be digital natives, of course. They'll be AI connected in ways we can't imagine. So I feel good about it. And I thank you, both of you guys.
To the question of, what is all this microcomputer and computer business going to do to our society? In the past, many things many levels of technology have stratified our society. I see computers, especially microcomputers, as creating a whole different manner of technology, or rather of society, in that there's going to be a vertical stratification in society. There are going to be those truck drivers that can deal very simply and very easily with a terminal and will be capable of getting their delivery schedules out of the terminal. There will be those truck drivers that will not. In the same light, there will be those MDs who will have and use the computer as a tool, and then there will be those MDs who prefer to look at medicine as very strictly as an art, one that should not be approached by a computer or any so totally objective device. Certainly that you can see from those two examples that we're talking about housewives that deal with computers and housewives that don't, cab drivers that do and don't, so on and so on it goes. As to this question of information society, those that will deal with the computer will be far and away ahead of those that do not. Computers are designed to eliminate tedium in our lives. If a computer does not do that, the probability is that you really didn't need a computer to begin with. You probably needed more arms and legs. it's going to be very interesting. The future, this question of how many jobs are going to be created and how many jobs are going to be totally obsoleted by the computer. A computer really has never obsoleted a job that didn't need to be obsoleted. Uh, the case is that we are humans and we are much more adaptable to our environment than the computer is to its own. We should be the ones that adapt and let that computer take over the tedium, so then that 3-day work week really does become a reality.
Ed Slate?
My son, now 15, has had an interest in electronics towards computers, but he was undecided. I had no way of developing his interest and mine. I didn't want to push him into this field. I purchased a mini computer, microcomputer, what we call now, as a hobby, and it became quite stimulating to both of us, to the point where it was disturbing to our family that we're spending more time programming in our off times than paying attention to the remainder of the family, and it has caused a great interest in my child. I feel with the future of the technology in changing towards computers, I wanted to continue on, so we went and we bought a large number of books. Programming we self-taught ourselves, since there were no courses available at that time. It seems to be a very fantastic and hypnotic field. Once you start, you just can't stop. It's something you can't explain. Computers are now in every field, not just electronics. An example, we are doing a program which is a instruction set to do our income tax, my income tax. My son is far exceeding any of the programming procedures that I am able to do, since his interests are much greater. And it is also, I'm part-time and he's spending most of his full time in developing his programming techniques.
Give me an idea of when you look to the future, what kind of world it would be. Whether you would worry about his future if he was sort of illiterate in this that kind of world. In other words, is it going to be a world that requires certain things of people that weren't required when you were growing up?
Yes, I think television right now is showing the need for many industries and changes. Our exposure to the new technologies of developing from the space program has brought this to be. I do see a great need for computers. In fact, all the newspaper articles that have been written just recently are showing that computers will take over our business transactions of purchasing food, banking, and et cetera. And there are a great number of opportunities for children of this age now to get into it and develop themselves towards this direction. I think the employment picture would just be phenomenal. And I'm trying to see how we can compete in a world of many various industries and vocations.
Jeff?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff. Can you fill me in on what we're seeing or not seeing?
I'm not quite sure I can tell you what you're seeing or not seeing.
Well, is he exceptional, or are there other kids like him?
There are, where he goes to school, several other kids his age who are involved actively in computers, with computers, going to college. And I would say that he's exceptional on the standpoint of, of the kids in the school system, there are maybe 20 that are capable of doing this out of several thousand. But there are more and more are getting involved in it, and it's really becoming quite a positive influence on their lives. I hope it is, at least.
Well, if I had asked you 5 years ago what you thought of computers, or whether they'd ever be a part of your life, except that in the billing, the mistaken billing that gets to you, what would you give me some sense of how your attitude has changed?
Where he is now, I can't imagine where he'll be 5 years from now, or where someone his age will be 5 years from now. It's just amazing.
Are you the only kid in Cedar Rapids who can use a computer?
I think, well, there's only I think 5 of us that I know that really know how to use it the right way. Other kids know how to use them, but they just play Star Trek and football and golf and stuff like that.
Good.
We'll talk to Mike.
And as a matter of fact, in conjunction with what Jay is doing, probably within the next several months, I'll be receiving a different kind of computer through my company that I can actually carry with me on the road. As a matter of fact, they have the system here. It's the first time I've seen it, and it's quite interesting. It's about the size of a typewriter, and I can get information directly at that point. I think it's phenomenal.
Frequently, the future is looked at as being be a very mechanical, machine-like thing with the robots and people who are like robots. Do you have any fears about the future in your son in that regard?
No,
Tell
none
me-
whatsoever.
Describe that.
I don't think. I think that the human being, the human species will always control machines. I can never see machines taking over. As long as there's someone that has to sit and push the buttons and input the information, and someone who has emotions and feelings, machines will never take over.